Hello parents and professionals, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you why it is that I believe some parents and professionals end up being flaky. The challenge with this subject area is that there is a balancing act going on between the desire to gain respect and the desire to be liked, or in the case of a parent, wanting to be loved. Children learn from a very young age how to negotiate and manipulate people. Yep, your toddler. Your toddler knows how to manipulate you. This starts really young, and the challenge is that if the ground rules are not laid down early on, then getting them in place later on down the line can become even more of a challenge. Now, there are typically a few different reasons why parents or professionals working with young people might fall into the trap of not being able to gain the respect from their young people that they would ideally like to have. Firstly, they may fall into the trap of just wanting to make them happy. We feel better as human beings when we make other people feel better. We don't like to make other people miserable. It makes sense that we would want to make people happy instead of causing upset or drama. But when we do that too much, it starts to train the brain of our young person to let them know that if they're not happy, then all they have to do is make a fuss or refuse to do what we say. The other reason why it's possible that respect is not gained by parents and professionals is simply a case of wanting to keep the peace. As we said, children learn at a very young age how to negotiate, and when you've got multiple things going on simultaneously, it's very easy to give in to their demands when actually what you want is an easy life, or to keep the peace, or to prevent another challenge from happening. But in bowing down and giving them what they want instead of sticking by your guns, it gives off the message to them that actually if they persist hard enough, then eventually you will give in and you will give them what they want. And the third reason why adults sometimes find it a challenge to gain respect from children and young people is because they're just too reasonable. Another reason why parents and professionals find challenges in gaining respect from their children and young people is because they're just being far too reasonable. If you treat a child like an adult, then you can expect that they will adapt and develop even further those negotiation skills that I'd mentioned earlier. Here's the thing, if you were faced with another adult who disagreed with you, it would be perfectly reasonable that you would talk through whatever the challenge is and come to some kind of mutual agreement. However, children need to be led by adults. They do, to some extent, need to be told what's what in life, and not to have this constant negotiation going on with them, whereby they start to believe that they've got just as much control, power and persuasion as adults do. The truth is that they don't, and it causes them to believe that their place in the hierarchy is perhaps higher up than it really is. Now, this will cause problems for them later on in life or in other areas of their life when there are different adults that they interact with who have different expectations of them. For example, the expectation that they will do what they're told, be that with another professional or with perhaps a teacher or an instructor at a club that they attend. If they're used to being able to negotiate the rules all of the time, then they'll carry out the same expectations there and might then find it a terrible shock when they find that their ways of manipulating people outside of the family home or the classroom don't apply in other areas. So how do we address the balance when there is this out of sync environment where on one hand you want respect and on the other hand you want to not end up losing out on love or connection with that particular young person? Well, it comes down to you as the adult to take control of the situation. And the very first thing that I would suggest that you do is to ride out the backlash that you're going to get by sticking to your guns. You are going to have to stick to your guns because ultimately children and young people learn by taking direction and instruction. We want them to learn that they do to some extent need to conform to the world around them, and that they can't just have what they want when they want it. So we need to be able to stick to the plan that we have in place in order to regain that respect. It's also important that you stick with it, not just in one particular area. So if you're laying down the rules in one area, then you're going to also have to transfer that into other areas so that you avoid creating any sense of confusion. For example, if you say, I want this piece of work finished by the time this lesson is over, and then you set a piece of homework and say, I want this piece of work handed in on Monday, but kind of give them some wiggle room on handing in the homework on Monday, you've had two quite similar scenarios where you've kind of stuck by the rules on one of them, but then loosened up the rules on the other one. And that's going to give mixed messages. So if we are committing to regaining respect, then we need to make sure that we stick by it in all areas. And the final tip is by far, I believe, one of the most tricky ones to carry out. You have to be a teacher or a leader or a parent or whatever your relationship is with them first, prior to being their friend. Now, this means that there will be times when enforcing those rules or boundaries or asking for that respect that you're due feels uncomfortable for you. It feels as if you are not liked because of it. And the truth is, you just have to suck that up, because ultimately being able to give children and young people guidance and direction in their lives helps to keep them safe, and it helps them to develop well. We don't want to be in a situation whereby our rules are so flaky and our spine is so crumbly that they don't feel that they can come to us for that support when they might need it later on in their lives. They need people around them who they know have got a backbone, and so they need to know that you can not just stand up for yourself, but that you can stand up towards them if necessary. And that means that your relationship with them as a carer or a leader comes before the friendship that you might like to have with them. Now, the truth is that when you do that effectively and they know what the boundaries are, a friendship can follow, but it's secondary to the other things that are more important. You know how you are with your friends. There is, of course, some kind of mutual respect there, but it's different perhaps to how you might feel towards your boss or your own parents. The relationship should be different, and that's because you need people in life as a young person who can guide you and show you the way forward. You need them to be role models for you, not role models who are there beside you doing the same sorts of things and wanting to be liked by you in the same way that they perhaps like their own best friends of the same age group. If you are someone who wants to influence them in positive ways and to help them to grow and develop as young people, then you need to be able to set yourselves apart from the other people that they might refer to as their peers. So these are just some ideas around how it is that parents and professionals might end up coming across as flaky towards some young people. And I would suggest that you take just some of the tips that I've shared with you there. You don't need to do them all in one go, but start putting them into action so that you can begin to see the difference that it creates in your relationships. It might be bumpy at first, but actually over time it will improve the relationships that you have with each other, because everyone will know where they stand, and those young people can begin to look up to you instead of just looking straight through you in the way that they might have done previously. You too probably remember the experience of having a flaky parent or a flaky teacher when you were at school, and you could see how traumatized those people were, because young people can become like savages. When they see a sign of weakness, they're just like pack animals. Now, don't get me wrong, I love working with children and young people, but I'm always very clear with them about where the boundaries are and letting them know when they've crossed it. So it's important that you do the same so that they can develop a mutual respect for you, and that they can then translate that into the world around them to avoid them getting into any potential difficulties in other areas of their lives. So I hope this video was useful to you, and if it was, then go ahead and click that thumbs up button to let me know that it was helpful for you. Make sure you also subscribe to the channel and click the notifications bell so that you get notified the next time I upload one of these videos. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!